So, yeah, a few points from Srila Prabhupada's statements, Prabhupada's books. We are all infinitesimal parts and parcel of Sri Krishna. As our Krishna consciousness evolves, we'll naturally develop and manifest all divine qualities. So that is the uniqueness of Krishna consciousness. Jashasti bhaktir bhagavat akinchana sarvai gunaistatra samasati. Jashasti bhaktir bhagavat akinchana. When one develops unalloyed devotion to Krishna, then all the divine qualities automatically become manifested. How it happens? Well, that's a very interesting consideration. The thing is that all the good qualities are already there in the spirit. As a spiritual entity, we all are parts and parcels of Krishna. So as Krishna's parts and parcels, all Krishna's qualities are also in there in us, in a minute way, small way. Just like a spark is a part of fire. The qualities of spark there in the fire, qualities of fire there in the spark. The spark is a quality, is a part and parcel of fire. So the qualities of fire are automatically there. Like what are the qualities of fire? Light and heat. The spark also has light and heat. The trouble actually starts when the spark becomes separated from fire. When the spark becomes separated from fire, then it loses the fiery qualities. So similarly, when we become separated from Krishna, we lose all those divine qualities that are automatically there in us, being a part and parcel. So Krishna consciousness, the process of Krishna consciousness actually connects us to Krishna. And when you become connected to Krishna, then automatically Krishna's qualities become manifest. For example, when the spark, that minute inflammable object, that was a spark at one time, becoming separated from the fire, it lost those fiery qualities. But when it goes back to the fiery qualities automatically becomes manifest in the spark. Right? Or does the spark has to light separate fire for itself? No. So similarly, when we cultivate Krishna consciousness, when we develop our loving relationship with Krishna, when we become reunited with Krishna, then all the divine quality of Krishna becomes manifest in us. So that's why Prabhupada is saying here that when we become Krishna conscious, then all the divine qualities automatically become manifest in us. Will naturally develop, and it's saying all our Krishna consciousness, as all our Krishna consciousness evolves, will naturally develop and manifest all divine qualities. And the next thing Prabhupada is saying, the supreme process for developing such Krishna consciousness is chanting the holy name. So that's the most important business. The purpose of Krishna consciousness is become reunited with Krishna, to revive our lost relationship with Krishna. Now how do we do that? By chanting the holy name. That is why chanting is so important. And Prabhupada told us under no circumstances we should give up chanting. And no matter in whichever condition we may be, if we are chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we will be safe. Becoming a pure devotee is not a cheap thing. It's actually one of the most important things to become Krishna conscious. It's the most important business that we have, and is the most glorious achievement that one can ever have, to become Krishna conscious. In the material nature, our condition is we are matter conscious. We are perceiving this material nature through our senses, and as a result of that, we develop our desire to enjoy this material nature. And that is the cause of our bondage. But Krishna conscious, now what is happening? Dhayate vishayan pumsha shangastesh vajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sanmoha sanmohat smriti vibhram. Smriti vibhramshat buddhinasha buddhinashat pranasya. Dhayate vishayan pumsha. Our consciousness is constantly running towards the objects of the sense. And as a result of that, we associate with those objects. And as a result of that, we develop a desire to exploit or enjoy those objects of sense. Things that are favorable to our sense perception, the things that are the objects that are conducive to our sense gratification, we want to have them and enjoy them. But can we really enjoy the material nature? No. Therefore, kama or desire for enjoyment is always foiled, frustrated. And when our desire is frustrated, our endeavor to enjoy is frustrated, we become angry. Krodhat, and then krodhat bhavati sanmoha. When we become angry, then we become bewildered. Sanmohat smriti vibhram. Due to bewilderment, we lose our memory. And when we lose our memory, we lose our intelligence. Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinasha, and Buddhinashat Pranashyati. When our intelligence is destroyed, then we are doomed. So that is our condition in material nature. But Krishna consciousness is the process to reverse that. So that Krishna consciousness is there to reverse that process. Consciousness is running now towards the material direction, to the mind and through the senses, to the objects of the senses. And what is Krishna consciousness teaching us to do or enabling us to do? Krishna consciousness. Where is the consciousness? Krishna. Now, how do we do that? There are two ways of doing it. One way is withdrawing our senses from the objects of the senses and project it to Krishna. But that's a very difficult process to withdraw. Pratyahar, the yoga process, actually tries to do that. The fifth aspect of Ashtanga Yoga is to withdraw the senses from the objects of the senses, called pratyahar, withdrawal. And then one becomes eligible to meditate or ध्यान. But there is another process. Our senses are running towards the objects of the senses. Right? Now, offer the objects of the senses to Krishna. You see the technique? We are not going to reverse our senses from the objects of the senses. Rather, now Prabhupada, remember Prabhupada used to use the word expression, dovetail. Dovetail. So dovetail is the process of taking these objects and So let the senses run towards the objects of this. Don't try to restrain. But whatever you are perceiving, whatever you are achieving, whatever you are possessing, offer it to Krishna. So our process is, the yoga process is, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Stop the activities of the mind. But what is our process? Our process, jat karosi, jadasnasi, jat juhasi. Yoga says, don't do anything, don't eat anything, and etc., etc. But our process is, do everything, eat, don't stop anything. Act, eat, but do it for Krishna. Jat, tat purusha, madharvana, offer them to Krishna. So that is Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada used to say that in Krishna consciousness we don't have to reject anything. We simply reject 4 things. There are only 4 no's. Otherwise everything, yes, yes, yes. The 4 no's are no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. Bas. Baki sab? Yes. Yes. You want to eat? Eat. What should you eat? Krishna consciousness. You should act. How should you act? For the pleasure of Krishna. In this way, everything is accommodated in Krishna consciousness. This is how wonderful this process actually is. So, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 12th chapter, verse 13 to 20, Krishna is actually telling us the qualities that are dear to him. Those qualities are one who is not envious, but who is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, he is very dear to me. Then Krishna is saying, he for whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. A devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and who does not strive for some result, is very dear to me. One who neither grasps pleasure nor grief, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, is very dear to me. So, in this way, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contamination, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service, is very dear to me. He who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to me. So the last point is very important. That is, one who follows this imperishable path, the imperishable path of devotional service, and who completely engages himself with faith. That's why the faith is very important. Faith means the complete conviction that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this process is going to enable us to develop our relationship with Him. That is the faith. Krishna is God, we are His part and parcels, therefore we should serve Him, and that's the only business we have. Our only business is to please Him. So he who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal. Krishna is the supreme goal. No one else, nothing else. Is very, very good. And how do we develop this quality? How do we develop these qualities that are so pleasing to Krishna? The process is practicing the devotional service, as Krishna is saying in the 20th verse of the series. And while practicing the process, how should we do it? Rupa Goswami is giving us the process. Utsaha, with enthusiasm. We should do it with enthusiasm. We should practice this process of Krishna consciousness with full conviction and full enthusiasm. And nishchayat, endeavor with confidence. And Prabhupada is pointing out that sometimes we may not get the result. We are entering devotional service very enthusiastically. But then comes a time when you say, well, after practicing for so many years, well, nothing is happening to me. We are not making progress. So this doesn't work. So Rupa Goswami is saying, no, don't give up. Nishchaya, have full confidence. Even if it is for a few years, so what? We are dealing with eternal time. What is a few years and compared to eternal time? Once a devotee, once a god brother of mine mentioned that somebody asked him, why is it taking so long? So his answer was that, look, Krishna deals with eternity. So Krishna sometimes takes. When Krishna is dealing with you, his time concept and your time concept may not match. So don't worry about that. Carry on. It will happen. Obviously it will happen. How it will happen, when it will happen, we do not know, but it will happen. So that is the meaning of the word nishchaya. Full confidence. It will happen. I am practicing the process and result will be there. And if nothing is happening, we can't blame Krishna, we have to blame ourselves. Are we really doing it with full conviction? Are we doing it all sincerity? Or we are doing it haphazardly? So if we do things haphazardly, then Krishna also gives us the result also haphazardly. So that brings us to the point of being patient. Be patient. Utsahat, nishchayat, dhaijat. Patient. Tat tat karma pravartanat. Act according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakhyam, Dashyam. These are 9-fold devotions. Navadha. And we have to be very careful to avoid the association of non-devotee. Non-devotee association can be very dangerous. Very subtly, that association can take us away from our path. And follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So that's the process. When you are practicing this process of Krishna consciousness, Rupa Goswami is telling us how should we follow this process. And Rupa Goswami is also elucidating those practices which will hinder our Krishna consciousness development. Important to know what may hinder, what may obstruct or stifle our Krishna consciousness. They are eating more than necessary. Attahara. Ati means very much. And ahara means eating. Of course, devotees have a license. The license is Krishna Prasad, you can eat as much as you can. Akantha puriya karo, prasada seva. Akantha kantha means neck. So, you can eat Krishna Prasad up to your neck. But then go to sleep? No. Sarvakhan karo, harinam shanti. Chant the holy name of the Lord all the time. That will make the prasad settle in the stomach. But still, there is no need to eat more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Yeah, well, the householders have some license, but otherwise don't put your money in the bank. Put it back to Krishna's service. And householders also will be happy if they can do that. Because after all, these are the attachments, unnecessary attachments. Make us develop unnecessary attachments. So over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Prayasha. Prayasha means endeavoring, strenuous endeavor. Don't endeavor so much. Whatever comes easily, just be happy with it. So these are the hindrances. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matter. Prajalpa. Then practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Niyamagra. That is called Niyamagra. Niyam agraha or Niyam agra. Both are making the same expression. Niyamagra. This Niyamagraha is a combination of two words. Both is Niyam agraha, meaning eagerness to follow the rules and regulations, and niyam agraha, meaning not following the rules and regulations. So both are detrimental to our Krishna. Meaning, if we're eager to follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but not really doing it for our spiritual advancement, just for the sake of doing it, that should not be. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness and being greedy for mundane achievements. So these are the 6 detriments to the progress of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so in this way we can see the process for developing our Krishna consciousness is profoundly simple, is extremely simple and straightforward. If we sincerely take shelter of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas and intensely desire to achieve the goal, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will undoubtedly shower His mercy upon us. All the divine qualities are there in the spirit soul, therefore we come closer to our spiritual identity. These qualities naturally become manifest, which also discussed before. That when we properly practice the process of Krishna consciousness, then all the divine qualities automatically become manifest. So, again some more quotations from Srila Prabhupada. Act in such a way that they will see you, say that we are of ideal character. When Srila Prabhupada was asked, how do we recognize the Vaishnava? And you know what was Prabhupada's response to that? How do we recognize the Vaishnava? Prabhupada's answer was that he is a perfect gentleman. So a Vaishnava is a perfect gentleman. Sanatana Goswami told Haridas Thakur, আপনে আচরে কেহ না করে প্রচার, প্রচার করেন কেহ না করে আচার. Some behaves very well but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, whereas others preach but do not behave properly. And these are the two things, that some preach but do not practice, but some practice but do not preach. But about Haridas Thakur, it has been pointed out, you simultaneously perform both activities in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the most advanced devotee in the world. So the devotee must practice and preach. So preaching is our main business, but while preaching, we also must practice. Once I heard one incident, not from Prabhupada, I think one godbrother, Indian godbrothers actually told me one anecdote, that once a mother took her child to a sadhu. When she went to her guru, to the Gurudev, this child is so fond of sweets. So can you please tell him not to eat sweets, not to eat sweets. So the sadhu said, okay, come after 3 days. So this simple instruction to tell him not to eat sweets. So after 3 days, mother came with the child. And this time, he said, don't eat sweets. So the mother asked, why did you take 3 days to tell this simple thing to him? He said, you see, I also was very fond of sweets. So I am so fond of sweets, how could I tell him to give up sweets? Therefore, I took 3 days to get rid of that attachment, and then now I could tell. That's such a wonderful example. When we tell somebody to do something, we must follow it ourselves. When you tell others, chant 16 rounds, and if I don't chant 16 rounds, how can I tell him to chant 16? So, that is the characteristic of a Vaishnava. He's very honest in his dealings. He preaches and he practices what he preaches. Some quotations from Srila Prabhupada to some of his disciples. Srila Prabhupada wrote to Rupanuga Prabhu, now I want that we shall concentrate on making our devotees Krishna conscious and ourselves becoming Krishna conscious, and not be so much concerned with expanding ourselves widely, but without any spiritual content. Just like boiling the milk, it becomes thicker and sweeter. Now do like that, boil the milk. So those who are coming to Krishna consciousness, we should make it a point that we should help them become Krishna conscious. Should help them become more merciful. The Prabhupada also wrote to Satsarup Maharaj in retrospect. He was in Boston at that time, and he was going out, and Prabhupada wrote to him that there is no need to go out and try to make devotees. Spend your time with the devotees, those who are already there, and make sure that they are making transparent. Spend your time cultivating them, teaching them, inspiring them. So it's that Prabhupada wanted us to preach and expand the movement, but at the same time, Prabhupada wanted us to expand with substance, not just hollow expansion. Expanding, but there is nothing inside. Another letter Prabhupada is asking devotees about devotees' behavior is always ideal. So we all have to cooperate on ourselves. Otherwise, what will people think if we ourselves fight with one another? A devotee is always ideal in his behavior. Your humble repentance is just like a Vaishnava student. So I thank you very much for this humbleness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to be humble. That humble than the blade of grass on the street, and more tolerant than that of a tree. So these symptoms are Vaishnava symptoms. So there are such beautiful quotations from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada gave us everything in such a wonderful way. Prabhupada, another letter to Satsuru Maharaj. Anyway, do things in good sense, without any disturbance. We have to make progress very soberly, and I am always at your service whenever required. So Srila Prabhupada was always ready to help us. Okay. So, etiquette within relationships. The Vaishnava society is very meticulously structured, where seniors are always respected by the juniors and junior always receive affection from the senior. The Vaishnava society is structured according to Varnashram. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra and Sannyasi, Vanaprastha, Grihastha and Brahmacharya. So there are various considerations for seniority. So who is senior, who is junior, how do you determine that? There are, let me see, 6 considerations. One consideration is the Varnashram consideration. Those who are like the Brahmanas are the topmost group of the society, then Kshatriya, then Vaishya, and Sudra. Brahmana is worshipped by all Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Kshatriya and Brahmana are worshipped by Vaishyas and Sudra. Vaishyas are worshipped by the Sudras. And the Sudras, like the youngest brother, receive all the favor and affection from the senior brothers. So that is the Vedic society. It is not that, and that's what actually destroyed the Vedic culture today. Because the way the Sudras were mistreated. Not only Sudras, the lower class were mistreated by the higher class. The Brahmanas exploited Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. And all of them were doing that. The higher class were exploited. It's still going on. Like in various parts of India, especially in northern part of India, there's a massive conflict between the Kshatriyas and Sudras. Brahmanas are not there, that influential anymore. But the Brahmanas actually destroyed the Vedic culture in Kali Yuga. It has been mentioned in Garuda Puran that some demons have taken birth in the Brahmana families to destroy the Vedic culture. The demons took birth in the Brahmana families. And they claim that they are Brahmanas, but they destroyed the Vedic culture in the name of being Brahman. They introduced and exploited the society in so many ways. As a result of that, people became disgusted and rejected the Brahman. We had nothing to do with this. And when the Brahmanas were not there to guide the society, the Kshatriyas became independent. And when the Kshatriyas became independent, they became tyrants, despots. And others started to feel completely oppressed by them and being tortured by them. And this is how we lost the respect for Vedic culture. And the Sudras were so badly treated by others that they all became Muslim. When the Muslims came to India, the Sudras became Muslims. So this is how, in the age of Kali, the Vedic culture has been destroyed. And Srila Prabhupada through ISKCON is reviving the Vedic culture. And that's the responsibility that we, the members of ISKCON, have. So one consideration of seniority is varnashram. Another consideration of seniority is time of initiation. Those who have been initiated before, they are considered to be senior devotees. And now we embarked on another phase, the Prabhupada disciples and Prabhupada's disciples' disciples. So obviously Prabhupada's disciples are senior to those who are initiated by Prabhupada's disciples or Prabhupada's grand disciples. So this is the second consideration. Another consideration of seniority or superiority is age. A person who is senior in age is considered to be senior. Another consideration is position. When someone is in a higher position, he is treated with respect as a senior. Sometimes you see a young person is the temple president, and an elderly person joins the temple. So he has to accept the authority of the temple president already, because by his position he is senior. So in this way there are various considerations for seniority, and ultimately our business is not to think who I should not offer my respect. Rather, our attitude is
respect everybody.
I am always there to offer respect. Amanina, Manina. But still this consideration of the day. Now this is another very important consideration. Sometimes a senior Vaishnava may offer respect to a junior Vaishnava due to his humility. But a junior Vaishnava should never think that he deserves that respect from all senior Vaishnavas. On the other hand, when a senior Vaishnava offers him respect, then the junior Vaishnava should feel extremely embarrassed and repeatedly pray to Krishna that he receives the respect. And repeatedly pray to Krishna that although respect is offered to him, it's not offered to him. It's actually the senior Vaishnava is offering a respect to actually Krishna. He should, on his part, he should feel very embarrassed. Maharaj, Prabhu, what are you doing? Please don't do that. And at the heart of his heart, he should feel actually he's offering this respect. Due to his exalted position, he is seeing Krishna in my heart.